Good morning and welcome to Bay Area Focus. I'm your host, Michelle Griego. We have a show full of incredible organizations, but up first, we are covering an important and timely topic, education, and it has been a controversial topic, especially after the appointment of Betsy DeVos as Secretary of Education. Author David Osborne outlines the future of public education in his book, Reinventing America's Schools, and he is with us now. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so tell me about the book. What inspired you to write this?
Well, you know, our public schools are not as strong as they should be, particularly in the cities. And so I thought, let's look at the fastest improving cities in the country. What are they doing right? And those are, number one, New Orleans, and number two, probably Washington, D.C. and Denver. And they have one thing in common. They've all embraced charter schools as a centerpiece of their strategy to improve. And they do a good job of chartering. They're careful about who gets a charter, and then they close the ones that aren't performing, and they grow and replicate the ones that are performing well. So what you have in New Orleans is the fastest improvement in the country, if not in American history, and they have all but 4 schools now are charters.
So why is it tough for other cities to embrace that if you have evidence that they're working in those
Right.
cities?
If you can double the effectiveness of your school district in less than 10 years, as these cities have, why wouldn't everybody do it? Simple, politics. The teachers' unions find charters threatening because most charters teachers choose not to unionize. Only about 15% of charter schools are unionized. So as the charter sector grows, the teachers' unions shrink. So they've basically declared war on charters.
Well, you say that public schools don't work for half of kids, which is interesting to me. I'm a product of public schools. So
as am I.
Right. So an advocate for public school, but why don't they work?
Well, I think we're using a model that's over a century old. You know, in the early part of the 20th century, we created these monolithic school districts in which everybody works for the district. The district is a monopoly. There's no competition. Nobody's measuring performance. Every child was treated roughly the same way. And they don't work too well in today's world. I mean, as we left the industrial era, they did fine in producing an industrial workforce. But as we left the industrial era and moved into the information age, and we left a national market and moved into a global market, they fall short. They're not as effective. They're too slow to change. They're too rigid. There are too many rules. They don't empower their principals and their teachers to really run the school. So we have, sort of by the seat of our pants, through the charter sector, invented a new model. And some states do it well and some states do it poorly. But the ones that do it well are getting enormous improvement.
And is this model the roadmap you talk about in your book?
It is, absolutely. And I want to be clear because the surveys say the majority of people don't even know what a charter school is. These are public schools, and they're open to all. They can't select their students as some district schools, magnet schools, can. But they are free from a lot of the bureaucratic red tape. They're free from a lot of the rules. Not all of them. They can't discriminate. They have to treat everyone well, but they're free from a lot of the rules, and in return for that autonomy, they're held accountable for
So you
performance.
say they can't turn away students?
Well, if they have too many, they have, for their seats, they have to have a lottery. So they can't handpick, I want this student and I don't want that student, as magnet schools can.
Right, and you believe that charter schools do work. Why are they considered so controversial?
Well, again, it's because the unions hate them, and the teachers' unions spend a lot of time telling untruths about charter schools, trying to give them black eyes. And certainly there are, you know, as I said, some states do this poorly. The states of Ohio, Michigan, Arizona, they've done a lousy job, and so the charters are not much better than the traditional public schools. But where states and cities do a good job, you're getting a doubling of the effectiveness of their districts.
So Stanford recently conducted a study, and it shows that public support for charter schools has dropped. Why do you think that?
We're all wondering about that. Because it's dropped in both parties. Now, if it was just Democrats, you would say, well, the teachers' unions are being effective, and the fact that that President Trump supports charter schools means Democrats are now against it. But it's also, they've lost support in the Republican Party, and that's a mystery to me.
Anything to do with Betsy DeVos being appointed?
Well, you would think that would help Republican support because she supports charters. However, she supports a system in which charters are only accountable to parents, and they're not accountable to the taxpayers through any publicly, democratically accountable body. I disagree with that. I think if we're funding the education, we want more than a school that pleases the parents. We also want a school that actually educates the kids. And, you know, for some parents in the inner city, a safe, warm, nurturing school is good enough. But for that child, in their future as an adult, it's not good enough. They need a school that's actually going to provide a decent education. And so we need to hold them accountable. That's the other reason that charters work, is that if the kids are falling too far behind, that school is supposed to be closed or replaced with a better operator.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us about all of your research and, of course, your book. And good luck with your book.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And to find out more about David's work, you can log on to progressivepolicy.org. Coming up next, we have two owners of an incredible restaurant in the Bay Area. We'll be right back.